Attention, Cabbage Crew. This is your captain speaking. We have a very special event to talk about with you today.
Is that it? Oh my god!
I had to throw some Sokka, on the walkie-talkie on the airship from Sozin's comment there for this special grandiose day of Avatar the live action Netflix series that we just watched. Matt and I watched it about the same time, and this is our review about episode 1. So here we are.
It was just called Aang, wasn't it?
It was just called Aang.
I mean, maybe that's a full circle thing, because maybe at the end of the last episode will be called Avatar Aang in like the finale, which it is called Avatar Aang in the anime. So
yeah, I'm
just gonna keep referring it to the anime to keep it easy. We're the anime, the live action, and then we won't talk about the movie at all, probably ever. So yeah, we'll do our breakdown of our genuine reactions, or
the review, thoughts. Not reactions, because there's
not reactions. Our thoughts. What we can do is you can start with your thoughts. I'll talk about my thoughts, and then we'll kind of break down scene per scene, or at least roughly where we're at, and then maybe some bad things, some good things. John, go ahead. What are your first thoughts?
Why does this show exist? I do not like. I do not like it one bit. Episode 1. Again, I mean, what we're just talking about, right? There's good aspects, there's bad aspects. Good aspects, I think the casting was pretty good for the most part. They looked the part, and I thought, introducing Aang the way that they did was good. But I think they let down in Iroh's character development already. I think Zuko's character development already
showing some signs of things. Yeah,
I am not a fan of the dialogue of the show. The dialogue was the weakest part, and a little bit of the plot. I just was not a fan, especially of how in the beginning I was like, oh, an Earthbender. An Earthbender that looks like, even though it's different than a cartoon, but an Earthbender that looks like, in terms of bending power, tougher and stronger than Toph. It looks.
I don't know about that.
I thought it was like, what? This guy's being pretty badass.
Well, yeah. So I guess let's do this. So overall, you seem up and down, like 50-50.
No. It is the dialogue. The dialogue ruins the show for me.
Okay, so
not like completely. Let me backtrack. Not completely ruined, but it leaves a very, very, very bad sour taste in my mouth.
I can agree with that. I think the dialogue, Avatar the Last Airbender did a very good job at showing things throughout and keeping you wondering what was going to happen, like why certain things were a certain way, and it would sprinkle in. I mean, for instance, we didn't know why Aang was even in the iceberg until probably episode 9, 8 of Avatar the Last Airbender. We didn't know why Zuko was banished and had a scar until that episode, until episode 9, 8, whenever that storm episode was. We didn't know. I mean, we knew about the comet, but we didn't really know about the comet until episode 4 or 5 of Mashu. But we really didn't know too much about how the war started, why it started, until season 3. And we've got obviously a lot more backstory with the Airbenders. So they definitely, and I think that some of it was the dialogue was because of that, because they were handing us a lot of information. Yeah. But I agree with you. I mean, I said we would end with weaknesses, but let's just start with the weaknesses, Christ. The weaknesses so far have been, because I try to reserve things like they haven't talked too much about Zuko redeeming himself to his father. But we didn't learn about that in the show until episode 3 or 4. So really until the storm episode, but he doesn't really even mention, I don't think he even mentions he's banished until episode 3 when he meets Zhao. So, I may be wrong about that, but like
You're
you progressively learn things. So we can obviously progressively learn things. So I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt for certain story aspects, but I would say the weakest part of this show so far is the dialogue between, and there's some, I wouldn't say cringy, just like unnormal, almost like someone that is not a professional is writing it. Like I'm sitting down and writing it, and it's like, this makes sense to me, but it's not how people talk.
Like,
you know,
one of my notes that I wrote down, I was like, "Oh my gosh, Grand's here to save the day by saying the theme song of the original show," and then I'm like, "You just ripped a child's heart out by telling them that the Southern Air Temple was the first one to get attacked, and your family's gone." Like,
oh yeah, I know, yeah.
I was like, "Never mind, I don't."
Yeah, so let's backtrack, I guess, a little bit then. I mean, if you want to just go scene by scene, and we can, because I think we are kind of going all over the place, but let's go scene by scene. So you said before the monologue, before the opening scene, that scene where you have the Earthbender going against the Firebenders. You know, it's funny. I said this to you immediately right before we started, and I saw that scene, and I was like, that was some type of script or something that was supposed to be handed to the Earth Kingdom to know about the war. And it was all just fake. So the Earth Kingdom would prepare themselves so they wouldn't provide aid to the air temples, which tactically kind of makes sense. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Besides the fact that the Earth King doesn't know about the war, and Ba Sing Se's whole arc is about making sure the Earth King doesn't know about the war, and so it's like okay, maybe a long time ago the Earth King knew about the war, but after generations, maybe that little script thing never got to him, whatever it might be. But like, it's just very funny. That's how they started it, where it's like, I always just kind of assumed it was not a predetermined attack, that like no one really knew about it, besides the air temples maybe having an idea, and a couple of small villages were attacked by Fire Nation, but for the most part it was an ambush. I mean, I think they even talked about that. It was an ambush. We weren't ready for it. One, going into the dialogue really quick, it's very interesting how when they did the monologue, they focused on Kyoshi, if you didn't notice that.
Yep.
I was like, that's some fan service. I get that. Kyoshi's probably one of the more, if not the most famous, like popular Avatar next to Aang. So I'm okay. What did you think about that?
Oh, I was so pissed off. I mean,
you were?
I mean, you know, since Roku's my second favorite character, I mean, you're
yeah.
doing him a disservice. I was like, where is Roku in this line of Avatar lineage when they're just showing Kyoshi?
Yeah, well, they might be holding off on Roku until Aang actually meets Roku.
True.
Which wouldn't be a bad idea. It's interesting that.
But the way that the intro was, no, like the way that when Tatara says like the millennia.
Yeah. Also, it's interesting that like I get Kyoshi's a fan favorite, but also it would make kind of more sense to hide Kyoshi. So when she is a badass, you're like, Kyoshi. They look like they kind of put her in the forefront. Yeah, I mean, I didn't love them. I didn't love the monologue.
We were at
so I'm recording right now. So now let's kind of dig into. Did you like that they showed Gyatso and the Air Temple now? And did that flow into the story better? Or because I feel like with 8 episodes, it's not going to be as choppy when it comes to like flashbacks and certain things, because it's just there's not enough time. Did you like how they introduced Gyatso and then kind of had the payoff at the end where he found his dead body? Like, is it okay? How do you feel about that?
The beginning, I liked it, introducing Gyatso that way. Explaining, I liked the idea of the Netflix live action writers, how they introduced and wanted to start from Sozin's Comet, and just it was an interesting way to look at that, and I appreciated it. I think Gyatso is a good character from the live action, and I just again it's just the dialogue that just doesn't flow. But I think like the acting, like he had Gyatso's laugh whenever he laughed that one or two times. I was like, oh my gosh, that's Gyatso's laugh, and then but the dialogue, Gyatso's telling Aang about all the previous past avatars, and they don't know about the past avatars until, besides Roku and Kyoshi, until season 3 of Sozin's Comet. Like, Avatar Yang Chen is a former airbender, and I'm like, you don't know that until
I will say this. I'm okay with that stuff because that's just a different way of telling the story, realistically. It's the same story. Okay, Aang now knows about his past lives a little ahead of time. That's a way to maybe fill in some gaps that the story tells throughout the way in the anime that they don't have time for. So I'm okay. Again, the dialogue of how he did it was horrible. I didn't really feel the connection between him and like Aang and Gyatso. It was like, I don't fault either of the actors, because the dialogue wasn't great, and it was. I don't mind the kid that's playing Aang. He's not doing anything for me special. But
I think he's doing a good job.
You think he's doing good? I think going in now to the siblings, I think they are doing the better job. I think Katara's okay, but she is doing her part. I think for me, the standout is Sokka.
I agree.
The kid that plays Sokka is doing well.
I agree.
Now, I'm also trying to gear, because I'm whenever I think of Avatar the Last Airbender, I almost immediately think of season 2 and season 3. Like, I don't even think too much about, like, sometimes I see like my favorite character, Zuko, with the ponytail, and I'm like, I don't even think about that. So, like, when I think of Zuko, I don't even think about the ponytail. I think about the long hair and the, it's like, so it's like I try to think about the first 3 episodes of Avatar the Last Airbender, which this very much was episode 1, 2, and 3 mixed with the Storm episode, right?
Yeah.
And like, I'm trying to compare it to that, not necessarily what I think of Avatar the Last Airbender of all those other seasons. And like, I wasn't in love with Katara after those 3 episodes. Like, I was like, okay, she's an okay character. Like, we'll see. Kind of shy. It was, you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't seem like she's this fierce leader, warrior, like she becomes.
Right.
And kind of hard, like loving, but kind of headstrong, kind of fighter,
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm trying to think.
She was more scrappy, a little bit scrappy.
Yeah, a little bit scrappy. She. I mean, I liked her character. Loved Sokka.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said about Iroh, I will agree that I think they tease too much of what Iroh eventually will be in episode 1. He's not supposed to, you know what I mean? Like.
Mm-hmm.
So,
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What was your thought when Katara was waterbending the canoe back as the reason to finding Aang?
Oh yeah, I wrote that down. Didn't like it at all. Well, the first thing that came to my mind was this place is, and so is the ship. Like in the anime, the ship seems like it's 2 miles away from their camp.
Oh yeah,
because they went sledding down that thing with the penguins, and also it seemed like when they were fishing, that seemed about way down. This was like eye distance. This was like maybe 150, maybe 300 yards from where their camp was to where they were fishing.
Right, and
the iceberg didn't come up due to water bending, or it was just there. Remember, they were like, "Oh, what's that?" You're saying all these years this big iceberg with this kid in it has been sitting there?
Like, the iceberg was submerged. That was the whole right.
It was sitting there.
No. In the anime.
Oh, in the anime, yes, in the anime. But it was also it was down, and she was using water bending, and it broke the iceberg, and then the ball came up that Aang was in, and then they touch it, and then it breaks. And this, it's just the ball is there already. And I don't know if they did that because of CGI. I don't know if they did that because they wanted to change some things. I don't know why they did that. But if this big sphere that's probably 2 stories high, 3 stories high is sitting there, that is maybe a mile, probably half a mile from your camp. You never ran into that all these years?
Right.
like imagine a big sphere sitting a half a mile from
It's just
you.
like in Vegas, the new sphere.
Yeah, it's like there's a huge sphere sitting a half a mile from your camp. There's nothing but snow everywhere. You didn't run into that ever. So like that is just weird. Like I didn't like that. But again, it's one of those things where I'm trying to let small things like that go because I know this series isn't going to be perfect, and I know they're trying to do a lot of time stuff. Like if you noticed, kind of going towards the end of this episode, but like Aang got out of Zuko's trap like pretty quick. Like he got out of there and left.
Right.
So, and we'll get to that in a minute. But like certain things, they just sped up. Like even like when Aang went against Zuko, that whole sequence of Zuko getting to the village and all of that was all done very fast. So, but I agree. The biggest thing is the dialogue. Scene to scene is just the dialogue. Now, let's talk real quickly because we did just talk about Aang getting out. It was very interesting seeing that Aang got out, but they did it differently. So he got out. He was unconscious. They took him back to the village, and he didn't have Appa with him.
Right.
Where in the anime, he gets out, sneezes, that little funny bit. Appa walks over. He swears that Appa could fly.
Right.
First time they see Appa, he's flying. So how did you think about that change?
It messes with the story to me. I mean, it just does.
Does it?
Yeah, because it's like it's a big moment when like Sokka goes, "What was that? What did that kid say? Yeehaw, hup hup, wahoo, yip yip."
Yeah.
And then they go and save Aang, and then like Appa's already flying, and not to mention this live action series, they go back in the canoe and just leave Appa behind.
In which one?
Leave Appa behind.
Oh yeah, because they didn't see Appa. They left in the canoe and they didn't see Appa. I mean, I'm okay with that.
I'm not okay with that. How do you leave him?
Well, they didn't see him. I guess they didn't
How
see
do you not see Appa?
Well, they didn't walk into the iceberg. Like, remember he slid out and slid down. They just grabbed him away.
How does Aang forget Appa? That
He wasn't. He was unconscious. Remember, he woke up.
He
was unconscious. He woke up and then he was like, "Where's Appa?" And they were like, "Who's Appa?" So like, I'm okay with those changes. It's just like you said, those are moments that fans are pumped about, but also like those are just the fun moments that Avatar does. Where like you said, he was like, "What's that word again?" And then you remember the yip yip forever, And now every time he says yip yip, he also had the whistle already. If you didn't notice, which they don't get until like midway through season 1. I think he got it. In the pirate episode, so I forgot the episode. Waterbending Skulls.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's interesting that they did that quick little change. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay about how they did that. Again, these are like small story bits. I'm sure we're gonna see way more changes. Just episode 1, 2, and 3 flow really well as a 1-hour event, and I'm sure there's gonna be way more different changes. We already talked about Gyatso. I'm just gonna straight up say, what did you think about Appa CGI and Appa?
Oh, good.
Good?
Yeah, I thought the directing's like pretty good.
No, Appa CGI.
No, I know. I'm saying like overall though. So far, the episode 1 with like the CGI, Appa's looking good.
Just all the CGI.
And I thought like seeing the aerial view of Sozin's comet during Azulon's time was okay.
I forgot to mention that. I don't think I wrote it down, but I forgot to mention it. It looked like the Sozin's comet was there for like 3 days. don't you know what I'm saying?
A little bit. It seemed like
because Sozin, the comet was there when the man was running when the Earthbender was running from all his people. Then he went back to they took him from there wherever he was. Public City or whatever the heck they called it. And then they took a capital city. I'm like, what? And then they took him to the Fire Nation. I don't know if that was in the Fire Nation or not, but then they took him to Sozin.
Right.
And Sozin had his little speech, and then they went and invaded the air temples the same night that Aang ran away. We're kind of backtracking here, but that's definitely different because I did not think in the original show Aang ran away. I think it was very much.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna correct myself. I accidentally said Azulon. I meant to say Sozin.
Sozin, yeah. And again, really quick to go backwards again before we go forwards. Aang running away. I don't think he ran away. Did they not make him run away? I think he was just like going out for
He was
going out for a run.
For a beer run.
Going out for a fly. He was like going out for. He was like, "Come on, Apple, let's just go fly around." Yeah, it was like he was
not
like,
a beer run, a cactus juice run.
Yeah, and I think he was just trying to like get some air, or something. I don't know. No, seriously. I mean, yeah, but like I think that's what they do. They were not like I ran away. Like it didn't seem like he ran away.
They did talk about it. Like they were like, like he's like, I don't want this responsibility. He didn't have. It didn't show the friend like his friends acting different. I don't think. Like it was just
no. Which again, these are all like kind of smaller nitpicky things. I do think the idea of him running away was big for his character arc.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, and then also again going back to really quick, the comet seemed like it was a couple days long. They did the whole beginning was different. So some of it are going to be natural changes that they might just the anime they want to adjust a little bit from the anime when it comes to overarching story. Maybe they want to introduce those in now because they know season 2 and season 3 are a little bit more packed with content. Maybe they want the general audience to just know ahead of time so there's not questions because they just think that there's too much to fill in when you have 20 episodes to fill in questions and not 8. Right. So that's just the flow of the story. And again, some of it is worse, but it is what it is. So let's just move on a little bit then to he goes to the village. Like you said, Gran gives that pretty bad dialogue to him. Essentially, it tells him that,
I was laughing so hard.
They introduce Zuko in a different way. Which again, I don't hate, I don't love.
You have to be upset, Matt. Zuko's like your favorite character.
So I kind of said this at the beginning. It's like I don't know. They did. I feel they do mention he is banished. So we haven't gotten there yet. Like again, after the first 3 episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender, I'm trying to compare it to those 3 episodes. So the first, first 3 episodes of the series, and we have no idea why he's banished. We don't even know. I think Zhao mentions he's banished, but we don't know why. We don't know the severity. We don't know anything about how he's going to redeem himself. So I am okay with them holding back to that. And then maybe in episode 3, maybe he starts talking about it, or maybe they're going to have his sister in the show now because we've seen her in different clips.
Right.
Maybe their relationship's going to be different with the father. Like I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't hate what they're doing with Zuko. Obviously he's a little bit different, but
he's not angry, and I don't like that.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
I don't see it. I don't see when he arrives. It's it's much more punctual. He's like, just give him to me, or else I'll burn down your village. Like it's not like you don't have to get that angry tone. I don't know.
Right at the end before the end of the show, and
when he's shooting the
fire goes around him. Like I felt some anger from. I mean, maybe not as much, but again, see the first couple episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender, he showed the anger, but I just feel like it slowly gave it to you throughout the season, and I don't know. The anger part didn't. I felt like that was perfectly fine. I just wish that he, I just wish that they like showed. I'm trying to think of the best way of saying this. I guess I wish they just kind of showed his passion for catching the Avatar is not for power, or he even says, "My destiny is to be the heir to the throne, so I can be the Fire Lord." Like that is not why. And maybe they're adding that in. Maybe there's gonna be a brotherly, sisterly rival of the gaining of the throne. I don't know, but the show never talks about him wanting to be the Fire Lord. The show always consistently was about it being him trying to prove himself to his father, trying to look good for his father, trying to get his father's love back, trying to be accepted by his father, which a lot of people can probably relate to. Being the king, that's where I think it might, not the king, but the Fire Lord, but essentially the king, there's not too many people that can relate to the idea of I want to be the king, I want to have the power. So again, that is my one fear of his story arc. That's kind of where I'm at with that. So getting to, we already talked about the ice break. So getting to the fight between Zuko and Sokka, just that whole them getting ready for him, Zuko coming up, Sokka running away. At first, Katara, while he's like, we got to get this kid Aang and like let him have him so he can leave. And Katara, who's walking, is kind of talking him into it, and then he ends up grabbing his weapon. I forgot what it was called, but his weapon, and then fighting him. What do you think about that whole progress of him changing his mind and all of that?
It went by so quick. I guess I wish. Well, first of all, like in the anime, like they didn't even have a fence. And so, no. He comes out and is like, I'm here, and don't do anything, but not like I can really stop you.
Yeah, like tries to challenge him, like he tries to like fight him like an Agni guy, like he tries to fight him 1-on-1.
I thought the fire bending was good. I think that their bending elements are good in the show, especially fire bending.
Firebending looks Firebending looks the best.
Yeah. I just didn't really appreciate how the whole sequence of Zuko arriving. It is different from the show. And I'm expecting it to be different, but not to this extremity. Like it seems like everything is different, and I just don't appreciate it.
And again, so it's a change that's not needed. Like in the show, I got at least for me, I got the impression in the first 2 episodes, or I would even say the first 6 episodes or so, Sokka doesn't really like Aang and the idea of doing this too much, but he's doing it for his sister, like at least at first, And I would have just loved the idea of him, something along lines to show that sisterly, brotherly, like bond that they have, because it is very much a sister-brother bond. They grew up together. They've been kind of running this tribe together, and I would have loved the idea of him going in there and being something along the lines of like, I'm not doing this for him, I'm doing this for you. Like I always got your, like you got his back, I always got your back type of thing. And then you would have been like, cool, Sokka's a good brother. He doesn't even believe in this, but he is risking his life because his sister wants this. And he, and even when she was like, something's hope, and he's like, Katara, you make me, something along the lines of like, Katara, you make me hopeful. Like, like something. And that's the one thing about their relationship so far in this episode 1 that I wish I got a little bit more of, which was the bond of the sister and brother, because that is really strong in the show, especially season 1.
They always revert back to it at least once a season. I mean, with like, especially like season, even in season 3 where in
the Runaway,
I'm talking about the Painted Lady when when Katara destroys the factory, and Sokka says like, so when Sokka finds out, he's like, and when he finds out, it's like, oh, I disagree with this, and then Katara's like, I won't turn my back on people who need me, and then Sokka says, you need me, so therefore I won't turn my back on you.
Yeah, I love it. And that's season 3. So again, these are things that are going to build up. But I didn't feel that connection as much. Maybe we'll see it in the next episode. We'll see. But I did like both of those characters. I think those 2 characters are the strongest characters so far, which
I agree with Sokka being the strongest. I think Aang would be my number 2.
Okay. We already quickly talked about a minute ago, how quick Aang got out of the ship after he sacrifices himself, which again he does in the comics, in the anime. Now I will say, again, I don't know why they changed this. No one knew Aang. Everyone just thought Aang was an airbender, and then he reveals that he's an airbender, but he's also the Avatar.
Right.
When he goes against Zuko and stands up for essentially the entire tribe and says, "You can take me. I'm who you're looking for. I'm the Avatar." And then it's like, reveal. It's like, "Oh, you're the Avatar?" And instead of Gran saying like, "Yeah, you ran from your people and they all died, and you're the Avatar." It's like, how does Gran know? Like, how does she even know you were the Avatar? Like, is Gran this wise person that was like knows that you're the Avatar? Like, how does she for all she knows, he could have just been some random airbender that got away and fell into the ice. So,
well, in the first one, she says, no one has seen an airbender for 100 years. We thought that they were extinct. That is a more subtle way of saying you might be the last airbender, but right. We don't. But you might be the last airbender, but we don't know. We just haven't seen one.
Yeah, we haven't seen one, and then that gives him the idea that maybe there are some hiding, and then that's when he sees everyone's dead and the Yatsus. And they did that kind of fast. I will say the end. The last 20 minutes they did fast. Like the last 20 minutes, the last 20 minutes, if you just compare it to the show, the last 20 minutes of the live action series, Netflix series, was about the second half of episode 2 and the entire episode 3. The last 20 minutes, because Zuko has Aang, and there's a whole fight sequence, and Katara gets on the ship and fights them a little bit and uses water bending for the first time against a couple warriors, and Aang gets away, and then Aang goes into the Avatar state.
Right. Did you like that? Did you like the whole? Did you like him shooting the fireball that far out in the distance? Like the way that I personally didn't like that. I didn't.
Yeah, I kind of wish they did it the other way. I kind of wish there was a scrub of, it just would have showed Zuko's determination more. Like Aang looking around, stealing stuff, and then it's like all of a sudden the door closes and he turns around and it's Zuko, and he's like, "I underestimated you." Boom, quick little fight sequence. Could have done the same thing. You could have used the air to hit him with the it could have been the same thing. Like, and then he could have gotten away, and then he could have jumped out, and all of a sudden, he's flying and he gets hit and he falls and boom, Katara catches him and they get away. Like, you could have done the same thing, but that extra like little 5 seconds you could have gotten. It would have made. So yeah, so now they're in the air temple and he finds Gyatso. They obviously skip a lot of the stuff with the Avatar, with him kind of seeing Avatar Roku's statue. 2 things I noticed about this. I want to get.
Well, wait, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice them looking at Roku's statue.
No, I'm saying they took that out. They took out a lot of everything in that episode. I mean, he shows up and he finds Gyatso's body in 8 seconds.
I didn't.
So took out everything. All right. So real quick, what did you feel about that sequence? Again, I was looking at my watch or looking at the time, and I was like, 8 minutes left. They're not going to do. I thought they were going to do the Southern Air Temple thing. Guess that's next episode. It's like, nope, they did it real quick. So what did you think about that sequence?
So before they arrived to the Southern Air Temple, remember the last episode I said, the one thing I would hate is when it's a random cutscene and then they arrive and then they arrive to the Southern Air Temple. That's literally what happened in this sequence.
I'm okay how they did that, because they're like, well, where should we go? And Aang's like, I know where. And then boom, they're going to the. I wasn't. It is funny you said that though, but I'm okay with that.
But it was just like it was a fast cutscene regardless, and I just thought it was too quick. But one thing I did like, and it brought something new. Knowing me, like I'm not like I might come across as someone who doesn't like new things brought into an already existing universe. But one thing I did appreciate was actually Gyatso appearing to Aang while in the Avatar state, saying that like I'll always be your friend.
Yes,
we don't, because we don't know what happened, what Aang was thinking when he was in the Avatar state in the anime. So I thought that was a good rendition of it. But I didn't. So I felt the emotion of him connecting to Gyatso at that state, but I did not connect with him seeing the body like I did in the anime.
Well, so I agree. It's funny because I wasn't really feeling it when they were first together. I did feel it at the end, and it kind of, sort of, reminded me of I'm wearing Lord of the Rings shirt right at the end of the Fellowship, when Frodo is kind of like about to leave on his own, and he has that like memory of Gandalf. He has that
Mhm.
memory of Gandalf telling him something along the lines of, you're presented something. It's about what you do with that time you have.
Yeah, it's
And
about the time that you've given to us.
yeah, and so it reminded me of that because it's like he sees Gato, and so I like the scene too. I will say it's interesting because in the anime, it's Katara who calms him down. That's what I wrote
Exactly.
down. It's Katara who wrote him down. He's in the Avatar state, and she says, your family might be dead, but we're your new family. We're your family now. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
So again, they took that away a little bit. I'm okay with the change. I don't hate it. Um, I'm okay with it. So it's not make or break. I'm trying to be flexible as possible when it comes to the small things because
Yeah.
I know they want to change some things. I know. Who knows? Maybe every time he goes into the Avatar state when he's emotional, he'll see flashbacks of Gyatso, and that's the way they can build that up. Who knows?
Right.
So I don't hate that at all.
Yeah,
And then the ending. God,
No, I was gonna say, I liked the that was the one aspect that I did like with
change.
Gyatso appearing. That's the one change from
So
the
that's the
original.
one change you like. You
Well,
don't like any other changes.
and the sequence like the Sozin's
Leading up to
Comet,
it.
the seasons or the Sozin's Comet sequence.
Mhm.
I don't like how it was told, but I
Mhm.
like the idea of showing it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I don't really, I don't really hate anything they did, to be honest. Besides the dialogue, was very choppy. A lot of it was explaining. It didn't work for me for a lot of it. Um, that's why I think I liked Sokka the most because I think everything Sokka said was like pretty spot on for what Sokka would say, and
Yeah.
and I like that. I already like that character and that actor that's playing him. Where probably everyone else, I'm still like on edge, and I'm like, we'll see what happens. I'm
Right.
skeptical, but I'm being having some optimism about it. So
But wait, real
overall,
quick though, in the trailer to the show, they show Momo. Did
I was
Momo?
that was
Did
my
he?
last thing. I was like,
Oh, I'm
there's
sorry.
no. Well, no, I was fine. I was like, that was my other thing. I was like, Mobo didn't pop up, so we must start the episode, next episode, still there, and they're leaving at the beginning of the episode, and all of a sudden Mobo pops up, and I'd be okay with that because then they'd be leaving, and then they would, I guess, go to Kyoshi. We'll see.
What's going to happen? And we haven't seen season or we haven't
We
seen
haven't
the
seen any
episode
other
2 yet.
episodes yet.
But what I think will happen is like Momo's going to be going through their bags and
Right.
in Appa's saddle, and they're going to be like, "What's this?" And going through my bag, and
Oh
they're
yeah,
just
and while they're flying already, yeah, maybe. So out of 5, we're going to
out
do
of
Rotten
5.
Potato scores. 5 being amazing, 4 being pretty good, 3 being meh, it was okay, 2 being bad, 1 being horrible. You can give me 0.5s if you want. Where would you rank this? Episode 1.
1.75.
Wow.
Yeah.
1 point. So you didn't like it at all.
So many changes that I just disagreed with.
I give it a positive.
And the dialogue being so bad. The dialogue's bringing it down.
I would give it a positive score. I would give it a 3.5. I would because I would because no, I'm not gonna lie. Because look, real quick, we got like another minute.
Oh.
We got another minute, really quick. This is the way I look at it.
Okay.
Again, I'm comparing it to the first 3 episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I get it.
If I were to give each of those 3 scores, I would be like episode 1, 7.5, episode 2, or 3.5, episode 2, maybe a 4, episode 3, maybe a 4. So that bar is not super high because I don't think those episodes are anything special. It's a good start. Dialogue choppy, not great. A lot of explaining things. Don't love any of the actors so far. Kind of disappointed in 1 or 2 of them, like Iroh, so far. What they're doing. Not the actors, but like kind of the dialogue and what they're doing. CGI was definitely hit or miss when seeing the scene. I think the bending looks okay. Fire bending looks the best, but we've also seen it a lot more than all the other bending styles. So far, liking Sokka, and I like Katara too. Some of the changes I don't hate, knowing why they might be changing those things. So like, again 3.25 or 3.5, meaning like it's meh, it's kind of better than meh. But like I'm not gonna lie, the episode ended, and I was like, I had fun, I liked it, and this is probably gonna be this is the intro, this is the beginning. So I was like, okay, I liked what I saw. Like when the fire went around Zuko and he was like, whatever he said at the end, I was like, I'm ready to watch the second one.
Right. And I don't know. I just took it. I was laughing because of how bad it was.
See, I was never at a point where I was laughing about how bad it was. Again, some of the dialogue, the grand dialogue was bad. Some of the dialogue at the beginning was bad. Some of the dialogue, I don't think and that's the thing. It's like a lot of the dialogue that was bad was stuff that's never coming back. Explaining things, Gyatso stuff, Grand, like everything Katara said was fine. The actress was fine. Everything Sokka said, I mean, money, like great, like he was funny.
Katara even mentioned hope.
Katara said hope. I think she might have touched her necklace once. She mentioned her mom. I mean, we're on a good path with Katara. Katara's doing great. Katara's doing great. You know, it's Sokka. I think he might have a couple sarcastic remarks. No sexism from Shift. He mentioned food, I think, one time. Yeah. So we're getting there, you know. And so again, it's like, so the things that matter to me, which is like, how's the acting for the main five? Iroh, Zuko, Katara, Sokka, and Aang. Right. Decent. How's the dialogue for the main five? Although not great, the best out of all the other ones.
Yeah.
Where's the plot heading? I'm okay how the plot is. It's the main story hasn't changed, but the main story has not changed as much.
Sure.
It's not like they did something so different where you're like, wow, that throws a wrench in everything. Like Azula shows up instead of Zuko to find Aang, and you're like,
that would be hilarious.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like everything's, besides the fact that Zuko has not mentioned his father and gaining his honor back from his father, which hopefully we get to. Everything else is pretty much on point when it comes to like hitting your notes, and that's what I care about. I'm like, don't go out too far away from hitting all of your notes that you need to hit, and hitting all your points that you need to hit. That, you know.
Well, here's my thing, Matt. You know, as soon as I was looking at, like the Southern Water Tribe, like their village, I was like, oh my gosh, it looks exactly like it. Why are there so many people?
but again, I think in the grand scheme of things, I'm okay with it. Like, it looked like, okay, instead of 9 adults,
the Fire Nation wiped out like everybody in the like that was the point.
They wiped out all the benders,
which were a lot.
I'm going to stand my ground when actually helping and putting my my defense up for the live action, because I will say this: in the anime, if you look around and you see the warriors of the tribe, there's like 30 men. And then there's like 9 people they left behind. It's like, did at least in this, you know what I mean? Like, at least in this, it's like, oh, another person that, like, what? There's no other teenagers? Like, oh, at least in this, it's like, oh, it looks like there's about a 13-year-old, 14-year-old. Like, Sokka's maybe 16, 17. This kid's like a little older. It's not like all 6-year-olds. Like, they were all like preteens, like 14, right. No, maybe a little younger than Katara. And so it's like, okay, there's about 10 kids, and then there's probably about 16 to 18 adults. And then there's probably like 20 people that went to war. Okay, it's a tribe of 40 people. I'm okay with that.
I'm fine with it. Just seemed like a lot of people in the
song. Oh, see that? For you're nitpicking. You're just bad.
I see this.
But that's nitpicking. I think that's nitpicking, my guy. Well, the tribe wasn't 12
people. It's true. You comment below and you see if I'm nitpicking or not.
Yeah. All right, I think so again, you gave it a 1.75, and I gave it a 3.5.
I might bump it up to a 2. I might.
We'll see.
I'll give it a 2.
Give it a 2. I'll give it a 3.5. All right. Well, what did you guys think of the first episode? Tell us below. Tell us some nitpicky things that you guys felt like when you watched this, and at the end you were like, there's that one thing that I remember from the anime that they didn't do. That might not be a big deal, but maybe it's an extra couple tribe members, or maybe they didn't go penguin sledding, or whatever it might have been. That really doesn't have anything to do with the overarching plot of the series, but something that you missed. So comment that below, and we'll see you next time. We're about to watch episode 2. I think it's called Warriors, and then we're going to be doing another podcast, so we'll be putting these up probably both together. Comment below, like us, subscribe to us.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe. Please.
We need it.
We almost have enough cabbages for a whole cabbage merchant to have. So, all right, guys. See you.
Peace.